The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Here's Nikki. Here I am. Hello, it's Nikki. What a little bop that is that Anya wrote.
Damn.
I don't appreciate it enough.
You do?
What a genius she is.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, Taylor's here, Brian's here, Noah's here. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. Yeah, Anya just like busts out. She's in the songwriting group, so she writes songs every single week. They get like a prompt. We should do it for comedians, Brian, where you have like a word or two and you have to write a joke around it.
I used to do that back in the day, and it doesn't work. It's not productive. I used to be called the 5x5, and there was some pretty good names in this 5x5 group.
Okay.
And
let's name some names. This is like the Epstein list. We have to
Bill Clinton.
He was
Bill
really
Gates.
funny.
Yeah, and
David Copperfield.
Yeah,
oddly
David
enough, no one's
Copperfield.
talking about him being on that list.
I know.
He made himself
just
disappear.
Appeared there.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Same joke, opposite end.
Damn it. See,
I
that's why
didn't make the joke because I've made it so many times. Every time it comes up,
Yeah.
I go, "Oh, he must not be that good. He can't make himself disappear."
I thought I was clever.
We all do.
But Michelle Wolf was on the 5x5. Alice Wetterland from Silicon Valley. Matt Koff, who is writer for The Daily Show for 15
these are great
years.
names. Michelle
Yeah,
Wolf, can I just bookmark really quick and just slide in and say she was the first person I ever knew who had to quit Froyo? What? Because I have Froyo is an addiction. Anya's been addicted to it before. I've been addicted to it. It's been like the only thing I eat all day. I'll eat it for every meal. Like I've gone through stages in my life where it's the only thing. And she was the first person who Michelle and I used to go get Froyo together. That was like our thing. And she was the first person to be like, "Oh yeah, I don't eat that anymore." And I was just like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "Well, you can go do something else." But I was like, what do you mean you don't eat it anymore? Like it's 16 handles. Yeah, that was the name of the place in New York.
Yes.
16 handles. That was our thing. But she quit it. And I really respected that. And
It's
also
like the
respected
Seinfeld episode where it's just it's not as
Yes.
healthy as you think it is.
No, it is in moderation. But
Sure.
if you're eating it
Daily.
constantly and it's all you eat, it can be like, lowly caloric, but it's not good for you to only eat that.
Do you remember the topics you put on it? Did you have like
I just like
go-to?
sprinkles and Rice Krispies and coconut would be my ideal. But if I was trying to be anorexic, it would be Rice Krispies. And then sprinkles I got really into. But then you get obsessed with the sugar and you go, I can't have any sugar. And there's no like sugar-free sprinkles. It's not good. Now I avoid, I don't crave Froyo like I used to, but it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be a Froyo fiend.
Oh, remember on Not Safe? Like, that's when you know you have an eating disorder, when everyone knows about it and everyone is just operating around it and everyone normalizes it. Like, no one's like, "Nikki, this is all you eat." They're like, "Go get your Froyo."
It's time again.
Because I was the boss on that show. So I'm sure everyone's whispering about like, this is not normal, but like it was just so.
At least it was Froyo. If it was like, "Nikki, go get your meatballs," I think it'd be a little more embarrassing.
Or your 1 carrot or something.
Yeah.
People probably
Froyo's
think
like a little
ice
That
cream's
one's-
fattening or something.
That one's hard to do. The carrot one, when you're not eating, that one's hard to like operate with and like have a full life to like get away with not eating around people. But yeah, when you
Too big of a
you can
crunch.
lean into it, like, I'm just a Froyo maven. And I remember Tim Convey, Chris's brother, made a joke that the size container that I get for Froyo is like, if you flipped it over, it would be like what like lion tamers use.
That's what I was going to say, what a bear would dance on.
Yes. It was these giant containers. And I remember I cried secretly to Chris about it, being like, "Tim made a joke about my Froyo." And like, Chris was like, "Why are you crying? Like, we always make jokes about your Froyo." But it's like, he didn't know the like all of the bullshit underneath, all the shame of like, this is the only thing I eat. And like, it just sucks when you're thing that you are addicted to that's ruining your life, no one notices it because it's like a big joke or whatever, it's just so, and you do it to yourself. It's no one else's fault, but you don't really do it to yourself because there's no free will. But go back to the joke group.
Taking the bookmark out. Michelle Wolf bookmark. Yeah, so it's called 5x5 because we would do 5 jokes every week. I don't remember if it was every week or every day, but that's why it's called 5 jokes every day for 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday. 5 jokes
That's
a
a
day.
lot, though,
And it
dude.
could just
I'm
be
just saying
premises.
one a
It could just,
week.
and then we'd toss things out and we'd all reply to each other and discuss like, oh, that premise is really good, or here's a tag.
Was
for
it a
that.
text chain?
It was email.
Oh,
It was
okay.
on email, and it was. I don't think it got you thinking about jokes, but other than that, I don't think it really helped anybody all that much. It was just like, oh, I got to do the 5x5. And then you would just poop out some shit joke like, what if dogs could talk? And it's just
I
like,
think
that's
I
one.
would be good at it.
I would.
I
love
think I
it.
would.
Can
I think I
do
would
it?
operate well in this. I think I want to do the 5x5. I think I'm gonna.
So
I
who
think-
would be in your 5x5? What's
I
your
think
choose your
you,
top candidates?
Ari, like people who I'm not embarrassed to be unfunny around, because that's the thing is you're going to be unfunny. But I also want people who I respect comedically, who I know respect me, and so I have to keep that respect up. Like I learned yesterday in my voice lesson, I was playing this new song that I'm working on, and he was like, "This is really interesting." Like he was like laughing at the lyrics. He's always bowled over by like the songs I bring in because he's just like, what is she saying in this one? Like Taylor Swift lyrics, he'll just be like, wait, what are we talking about? So the song I did was by the Mountain Goats, and I love it. It's called No Children. Have you ever heard it?
Mm-mm.
It's just like this really upbeat song, but it's really about a couple like breaking up and how they want to stay together, but they're also like they hate each other, and it's just. But it's all done. I love the paradox of like a happy song and it's so dark. And so the chorus is like, I hope you die. I hope we both die. And it's just all about just hoping the person dies, but also wanting to stay with them. And like, I hope we hang on past the last exit. I hope it's already too late. So it's like, I hope we hang on, but I also hope like we're doomed and it's already too late. So it's just this juxtaposition. Anyway, I sing the whole song and he's just like, oh, every time you sing, like I went through it 2 times, and he goes, every time you play it, like I keep hearing new things. This song is bonkers. And so he's like, I need to record this. So he's like, I want to record you. He was like, I got to play this for Angela, his wife, later. He's like, I got to play this for her later. She's going to love these lyrics. This is crazy. So he records it. And then suddenly I'm like really much better, like because he's recording it. And then he goes, and then I kind of fucked up, but then I go, can we do it again? I record it again and it's even better. And then I go, let me try to get one more time. And he, at the end of it, he's like, I think I just stumbled onto something with you. When you are forced to perform and like it's going to be you step it up more so than just in front of me. And I was like, yeah, I think I need to implement that more in my life to have results of like the pressure, which, you know, is not a new concept whatsoever. But that's why I think the 5x5 might work for me.
Can I add an idea to 5x5?
Yeah.
Why don't you guys give yourself an end date so that no one feels guilty about dropping out and more
just
people
kinda
want to participate because there's
like a
a
dry
last
January or something. You do like
Well,
a
I kind
funny
of
February.
I kind of like the idea of if you don't do it, then you're out of the group. That's what Anya's group is like. If she doesn't turn in a song, you get kicked out. And I'm sure there's
Forever?
like not forever, but like you
Ooh,
gotta
harsh.
really earn your way back in and be like, I'm really gonna stick with this because it's not. This
Yeah.
isn't just everyone has to. That keeps it honest. So like you have to turn in crap if crap is all you
Because
have.
that's the whole point of it.
Yes.
If you don't do it, then
And
why
there's
be
an
in it?
excuse for turning in crap because you're like, I had to turn in something or else I get kicked out of the
Oh,
group. So
right,
you have
okay.
like a little fallback. So I kind of like that idea of like, you can miss 2 weeks or whatever it is, but then you're out. I kind of like that maybe. Yeah, but
I mean,
also having being able to.
But a song is so much harder. I mean, I could think of 1,000 jokes a day and just give one.
I challenge you to come up
Taylor.
with 1,000
Oh yeah,
jokes in a
I mean
day.
they might not be good to you,
But
guys.
I think
1,000?
songwriters.
yeah, if I was trying.
Taylor's
You
really
can come
funny.
up with 1,000
Taylor is really
jokes.
funny.
Look at my notebook. I write. I have a note.
Will you give me some jokes,
Encyclopedia.
girl?
It's this
I mean,
big. I'm not joking.
1,000
Why don't you
in a
ever pitch me
single
jokes?
day?
What are you doing
What do
with
you
them?
mean pitch you joke? I
want
just say
some-
it.
Yeah, you just like write. You go. I think you could make a joke about this, and then like I would pay you for that stuff.
Okay, I'll get out my dictionary.
Yeah, you gotta do. You should pitch me some jokes on the podcast.
I'll bring it.
That would be so fun.
I'll bring
Yeah,
my-
because
my
I would
joke
love
dictionary.
some. I just sometimes
I don't
my
think we're
brain, I'm just
grasping
out of
how
ideas.
much 1,000 is. I mean, that is so many
Okay,
jokes.
that's obviously an
I think that's a joke.
exaggeration.
That's her
but
first
I
joke.
think, yeah,
That's her
the
first
joke is
one.
I'm a liar.
It was just being exaggerating. that number.
100.
Okay.
100. I could do it.
I could see 100.
They might be stupid, and then I
But
wouldn't have any for the
songs-
next day. But
I think it's similar. The only thing about
Songs are
jokes is
long.
that songs have to have a verse, chorus, like sometimes pre-chorus, bridge. Like it just
A
has to have
melody.
so many parts to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can
joke,
write a little
setup,
jingle. You can
punch,
write
tag.
But I asked Anya, like, do you have to turn in? Do you have to turn in like a whole song? And she was like, no, sometimes my song's only 2 minutes long. I don't really know what that means. But like sometimes she writes shorter songs.
Lots of good songs are only 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean,
Eric Clapton
Really?
was the master of that.
Yeah.
What?
Jimi
That's-
Hendrix too.
Really? Eric Clapton is the master of
Yeah.
2-minute songs?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Cream.
that. Okay.
and
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix.
I there's no rules.
Tom Petty.
Really, except that, yeah, I have to write a song.
It's only those who
By
break the
Wednesday.
rules that truly succeed, is what I'm finding. You got to
that
bend
a
the
joke?
rules. No.
Yeah.
People who this is like the theme of Fargo in the first season of Fargo, where it's like the main character is following all the rules and he's not succeeding, and Billy Bob Thornton's character is breaking the rules and getting to do whatever he wants. And that's the question. It's like, if you follow all the rules, will you just become this like weak little person who's taken advantage of? And if you break the rules just enough with a good moral compass, you wind up succeeding. This is why people who are narcissists, they just steamroll and become the president.
Because they don't have that self-doubt.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Just
true.
Whatever.
It kind of goes into this. Did you see that clip going around? A bestie sent it to me and said, I think you've referenced this, but you didn't know who it was. But I believe, I don't know, whatever it is it was Rick Rubin talking to,
Oh, I sent it to you.
you sent it to me too. A bunch of people did too. Like,
Okay.
or you did, and then another person, and then this other person said, I think this is who you're referencing. But it was Rick Rubin talking about how you are not supposed to make art for the
Your
audience.
audience.
You're supposed to make it for yourself. And then
Mhm.
that will be, you shouldn't care what the audience thinks. And then I sent it to Chris and was like, what do you think about this? Because I think Chris is more of the mindset of like, there's a little of both. Like because there's some jokes in my special where I'm like, I like this a lot and it makes me laugh, but like it didn't do well. I tested it many times.
Mhm.
It's not like I
Mhm.
just tested it that night. It did do well. Like it hasn't done well ever. Do I keep it because it brings me joy? Like clearly it's not and the audience is that's how you make money. And
Mhm.
you should be pleasing them. So I'm I don't know how to feel about that.
In any
Like,
art, you can push it till it's too far. Like if someone makes a short film and it's their ultimate artistic expression, but you watch it and it's just like, this makes no fucking sense. It's just a bunch of colors and shapes and there's no dialogue. And it's like,
Yeah.
now you're just being obnoxious and pretentious.
But that's your That's what Rick Rubin was saying.
That's everyone's interpretation.
No,
Everyone
but
agree
there's
with me.
someone out there who will like it, and there's
Yeah, a
more
freak.
than that one person.
yeah,
That person
the
does
audience
not-
will find you.
Fine. The audience finds you, and then you have 4 total fans.
Yeah.
No, you're
same
so
as
right.
music.
There's
It's
been
like, if
so
it
many
sucks, it
times
sucks.
where I've thought something is so shitty and I go, this person's so proud of themselves for making this choice and it's the wrong choice because it's just even, and I'm talking about myself, like watching this edit for my special, which I just finished doing I think the final edit on. And Brian, you gave
Oh,
notes on
yeah.
it too. Thank you so much, Brian.
I just watched it. Can I just say it is great? It
is
came
great.
out better than I thought it was going
Me
to come
too.
out.
Me
It's
too.
tight. It's tight.
Yeah,
Finally.
the edit was,
And it looks amazing.
the edit's really good because
Yeah.
we
Sweet.
tightened it up. And I mean, both shows were amazing and it'd be so nice to have so much more time and fill it up with all the jokes. But
Do you have a release
we made
date
the right
yet?
cuts. No, not yet. But hopefully soon. I'll tell you as soon as I know for sure.
Okay.
But in watching, there were parts of it that I was so frustrated with yesterday. I finished the edit this morning and woke up really early because yesterday I attempted it and I got so bummed out because like at the top of the show, I just was making some choices with my performance that I'm just like, why did you do that? Why are you being like I made some choices where I think because I was so overwhelmed, I
let's see
literally
'em.
almost cried when I walked out because the audience was clapping so much
They were
and
so
so
good.
enthusiastic. I've never become emotional from a crowd in my whole life. And there's been amazing crowds, but for some reason that one would like hit me like a fucking wall and I almost cried. So then I had to like go to a place where I was like, turn off feelings. And so it kind of made the start of the show for me to be, I seem pretty callous because I'm not smiling a lot because I'm trying to, I had to shut that off right before I began because I was just like, Jesus Christ, you guys, like I haven't even talked yet and you're making me cry with how much you like love me. And so I had to turn that off. And then when I go into my jokes, I'm not like smiling as much as I usually smile during these jokes. So they just seem psychopathic. And so I was so mad at myself. I'm like, why are you so cool? Like, I'm taping a special. I'm not going to smile. And then I realized you did it because you were preserving. You didn't want to give, like, you were trying your best, girl. You just trying your best, and you didn't do it the way you should have, and you give anything to do it again, but you can't. And the fact that I know I fucked up is something.
I didn't notice.
You learned from that.
Now you'll notice because I called it out, but I swear to God, I want everyone, don't read into that too much. If you're like, she seems like a bitch up the top, it's because I was overwhelmed by feelings and I shut them off for a little bit, and then I let it back in, and then I start smiling more throughout the special because as I'm watching those, I'm like, no one likes a girl who doesn't smile. Like, you got to be a likable woman, you gotta smile more. And I'm like,
you gotta take that construction worker's advice.
Yeah.
Works in comedy too.
He
all
knows
of
best.
those
He's a dad.
construction workers who care so much.
Yes.
They know what's best for their little girl.
There are some Nikki Glaser jokes that if you take away the sarcasm and the smile, it just becomes a Mein Kampf-esque tirade.
It's nuts,
you should kill your friends.
Yeah.
You should, it's like,
Not only that, you should kill your
if they're pregnant.
Yes. There's some psychotic messaging in here, and
take your
please
pregnant
know I'm
friend
joking.
and throw her off a bridge.
It's so wild. Anya watched the cut before this one, and she even said like, hey, maybe you can take out this one joke just to like soften it a little bit. And I hadn't seen it, like I hadn't really paid attention yet at this point. And I was like, oh no. So as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I see what she's talking about. Like, this is so, if you don't know who I am, this is your first intro to who I am. It's really jarring. And so I just want to warn everyone to just stick with it a little bit. The jokes are good, but I'm not smiling, so they seem a little insane. But the special did turn out great. But there was just so many moments of like, why did you do that? Like, and I felt that way about other artists. Like, why did you do that? And so to feel about yourself, you kind of realize everyone's just trying their fucking best.
Yeah.
And sometimes your best. Camera.
Why did you do that?
I had so many camera moments.
Yeah.
But I feel so accomplished that I'm done. Editing
oh God,
is
must feel good.
Hell.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the worst time of my life. It just, everything feels unbalanced. I think it's the absolute, it's like being pregnant in your last month. Noah, like, is that what's the hardest month for people?
I'm not in my last month. I wouldn't know.
No, but I mean, like, you've done your research. Like, you know what you're in for. What do people say?
Yeah, I guess because they just want it to be over.
Yes, and it's
Just
uncomfortable.
Like, come on, let's go.
And you don't like the way you look or feel. Like, I don't mean to compare. I'm just trying to compare it to something I've heard is like just always going to be bad. And for me, before I give birth to a special, I have to edit it, and I hate it because you can't go back and change it. You got to deal with what you already did. There's nothing you can do to change it. Nothing. There's nothing I can do to go back and retake
it's like
those
being
lines.
A senior in high school, like last semester.
It's like senioritis.
Yeah,
but
you don't have to
edititis.
I'm trying to also encapsulate the having to look at yourself and realize you're a failure in all the ways.
We'll look at it with a fine detail and cut out anything that's possibly going to make the special worse.
Yes. And I haven't even looked at the pictures for the new podcast logo yet because I can't look at myself in any other way yet. I did a photo shoot a month ago, and I have not posted any of the photos or looked at a single one because I just don't want to look at myself right now. It's too much. But then you get this over this hump where if you watch yourself enough, you start to think of them as someone else.
Yeah.
And then it gets easier.
Whoa.
But then I'm just so glad it's over. And I'm so glad I like it. And it always gets to be this way. So look forward to that. It's coming out this year at some point. And then it's on to the next one, and which I want to talk about a bit I started writing this morning when we get back after this, because I'm on to new material. Yeah, so I'm working on the new hour of stand-up, or like just new jokes, and I was thinking about this moment I had with this young girl. I was doing this podcast, George Janko? Is that his name? Yes, George Janko's podcast.
yeah.
And his girlfriend's this young hot girl.
Gene guy.
Gene guy?
Yeah. The
Oh yeah,
jeans.
Janko jeans. He would look good in some of those, but he's just the
Jean
sweetest
Maven.
guy. He's so great. I didn't know what I was in for when I went in, but he has this beautiful girlfriend who he's now engaged to. But she was talking about being worried about a woman following her around a store, and she thought she was being trafficked. And I realized that that's just never a fear I've ever had. Like during.
Like sex trafficked?
Yeah, I mean, I should have feared it when I was younger.
That's what it is. They just follow you like
That's
a car
an-
follows
yeah,
another car
they-
in traffic.
They Ghislaine Maxwell you,
But they just
and then they steal. They
Oh,
find a way to
she's-
steal you.
okay,
They
I
track
see.
you. They study you. They videotape. This girl was filming her
how
at a
old
thrift
is
store.
this girl though?
She's early 20s,
Oh, okay.
and so. But I remember her saying this and me being like, "Oh my god, I never worried about being trafficked, and
Hell
I'm
no.
past the trafficking age. Like
Yeah.
I'm out of it.
You never will be trafficked.
No,
That's good
ever.
to know.
Well, maybe to like clean someone's home or something, or raise their kids. But like, I'm not getting trafficked for
you
sex
can still
anymore.
be kidnapped for
Nanny
ransom though
trafficked.
because of
Oh,
your
that's good.
Ugh,
status.
Thank God.
Oh,
They
well, there
need
was
your
some
money.
bit there, but
don't encourage people.
no, please, and no one's gonna pay that. I don't.
Any press
no
is
one,
good press.
That's a good point. Yeah, I thought that was a funny thing to hear a new fear that I could have felt when I was in my early 20s, but I didn't fear that because it wasn't as prevalent or known about. You know, like being trafficked wasn't something people
No,
talked
no
about.
one ever talked
There weren't
about
signs on every
Bathroom.
bathroom door saying like, "Are you being
1-800
trafficked?"
traffic.
It's always just like a depressed girl covering. They cover her ethnicity, even though we know.
She has a hoodie always.
Oh yeah. She's got a hoodie, and I really hope that helps some people. And I try to look out for girls being trafficked, but
Yeah.
You do?
yeah, because it's like usually a girl who's kind of not dressed right for the weather is what they say.
Why would she
Mm.
be in an airport? They're really
Because-
flying them on like a commercial plane.
yeah,
And they're not going like help ever.
they do. They have hand signals that they can do to flight attendants are like trained to look for these certain hand signals.
Wow.
I almost did the white power hand signal, but
You
That's
know
what it
that?
is.
What is it?
no, it's some kind of hand signal that a girl can, and all the flight attendants are now trained to know what that is. But you're supposed to look with like
But
a
how do
shady
girls
guy
know to
or
do
shady
it?
woman with a scared girl. And if
then
the girl,
the
yeah.
signal is you make the white power symbol, and then you go, the Jews will not replace us, and that's the signal to the flight attendant
that you,
that you are being sex trafficked. Yeah. I don't know why.
yeah,
it's
that's
that,
what they're
but-
doing when they say
yeah.
that. But
why
yeah,
don't
Those guys were all being sex trafficked.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious at all this whole time.
Why
No
don't the
idea.
women know the women with them know the signal?
Yeah, that's my question.
Or you just
they
do it
probably
right
do, but you
here?
just do it when they're
You
not
do it
looking.
like-
They can't look at you all the time. There's always going to be a time where they might,
right.
and it's
They're
just
gonna have to piss
easier.
No, but how do the
sometime.
victims know how to do it? Where do they learn it?
I
TikTok.
listened to a podcast about a woman who escaped being sex trafficked, and she kind of just over time picked it up via message boards and just
But if she's
there's
on
ways
message boards,
you get to the library somehow, you get on a
confused.
computer, you start figuring out like what can I do to get out of
You
this.
also get left in rooms alone with other girls being trafficked a lot. You spend a
Yeah.
lot of your time, from what I've read about it.
That
I've
makes
watched those
sense.
YouTube videos of like the soft underbelly, I think is what they're called. And it was a girl that had been sex trafficked, and they spent all day in motel rooms. Just waiting, and then they rent out another motel room, and you just go to that motel room and fuck Johns that your pimp has brought in for you, and your John eventually has to go and get lunch or whatever, and so you can kind of talk to the other girls, and there's little ways, but man,
Also,
It's
they
fucked.
probably have Stockholm syndrome, where it's hard
Yes.
to leave
Oh,
your
yeah.
captor.
sure. But if they are going to do the symbol and they're on the internet, then why don't they just reach out to someone on the internet? Is what I'm asking.
Stockholm.
But
And
but
because
they're willing to do
fear
the symbol.
is also
And
just
fe-
fear
fear
that they'll beat
that-
the shit out of you.
Okay.
Yes.
Then that's not the same people looking at the symbol then.
What do you mean?
Because if they're willing to do the symbol on an airplane to
Yeah.
get to save themselves,
Okay,
why aren't they willing to just go on the internet and say, save me?
because they don't have access to the internet.
Oh, but that's how they learned the symbol, I thought.
Oh,
That's what
I
we were
think the
talking
symbol's
they
about.
could
just like-
sneak out
But it
to a
makes sense.
library or something like that to get access to the internet. But if they found out that you tried to be saved on the internet, they'll just beat the shit out of you or kill you. And if you're on an airplane, it's like a public spot, and like you might be able to get away with it. That might be the thought process there. Like,
Mm.
if I can get out right now on this
Yeah.
plane where everyone's around, they're
Or it
not going
might
to
just
kill me.
be-
At least
not like a certain symbol, but maybe the flight attendants and whoever is trained to look for certain marks on the body or like just a certain body
Yeah.
language.
I thought that's what the
Scared
button was
looking.
when you press up or above.
Yes.
Oh, for the person.
I've
It's a picture of a
I've just
woman.
mouthed help to a flight attendant, but it's because the guy next to me is listening to his.
Wait, didn't you
movie
have a guy
on
like
speakerphone.
sleep on you on the plane or something?
He was just, I filmed it and it looked way worse than it was. Everyone was like, holy shit, what's happening here? He was leaning to talk to the person behind him, but he was leaning into my seat. So it only lasted as long as you saw me film it for. But people were like, if this is happening, it was still annoying and it was funny to capture, but it wasn't the whole time. And I absolutely would have called it out had it been. Yes. So, but you know about this, Elizabeth Smart. When she was captured, she like went to parties.
Right.
was
I
walking
understand
around
Stockholm
town, like,
syndrome.
yeah.
I was just saying, I don't think they're like going to the library and learning the symbol there.
No, I don't think they are either. I don't know. We got to get more
I
information
want to
about the
know
symbol.
more
out.
what they're allowed to do.
I think I already said this on the show, but I used to work in trucking radio, and a lot of sex trafficking would be witnessed at truck stops. So there was this organization of women truckers who created these chapsticks. And in the cap of the chapsticks, they would give it to girls in the bathroom who they would feel like are victims. Like they would notice things about them because there's showers and
They're like,
everything.
your lips look gross. Here you go.
So they would give them, and inside of the cap there was like a number, like or like a message: need help, give this signal or something like that, and it would be hidden inside the cap so the men wouldn't know.
Oh my
Whoever's trafficking them.
God.
That's insane that we have to do stuff like that as humans, but that's cool.
There's that
people
Brie
who
Larson
help.
movie. What was that movie called? Room? I think?
Yes.
It's one of those tense movies of all time. I mean, that go watch Rooms. Before Brie Larson became Mrs. Marvel.
She was Amy Schumer's sister in Trainwreck, the movie I was in.
Oh my God, she
I was in a
was?
scene with her. Well, no, we were at the same party in
Wow.
a scene, but I don't think I acted with her. But yeah, we went out to lunch during that time too. I went
Oh
out to
my
lunch with Brie
God,
Larson.
wow.
She's very nice. But yeah, that movie Room where she's kept in a room by
Yeah,
a
she's with her
guy?
son. With her son, and then she gets
and
I
the
don't wanna
guy
spoil
impregnates
anything.
her, right? Like the kidnapper is the one that impregnates her, right?
Potentially, yeah. And it's
Yes.
just it's so tense. I can't believe they're able to ratchet up
I read
that
that
much
book,
tension.
but I don't think I wanted to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. But the tension, it's like, you ever see Uncut Gems?
No, because I've heard about the
Oh my
tension.
God, the tension.
I
And
hate
there's a few
tension.
movies
Yeah,
that are
no,
just
thank
so
you.
tense. And then the release of tension you think would be relieving, but it's almost like it's not. Like when the tension gets released in Uncut Gems, it's almost like that tension just follows you for the rest of your life now. You cannot,
Yes.
it will
Talk
never
about
be relieved.
What about It Follows? Have you ever heard about the plot of that?
I love It Follows. It Follows is maybe one of the only horror movies that I actually would rewatch.
Wait, what about the scene? I've never seen it, but I was reading on a Reddit thread the other day. It was like, what screen grab the scariest moments in movies for you? And so people were just posting just like a screenshot of like these, like, when a face suddenly appears in a doorway. And there was one from It Follows where a tall man was in a house and it was so creepy. And I
Yeah.
know
There it
the
is.
plot of It Follows because it's like, there's this thing that is always walking to you to kill you. And you can, and it is always walking at like a walking pace. So you can run from it your whole life, but it will always be walking to you and it will always find you. So you got to keep going, which
I
is
hate
really
it.
not that hard to do.
Is
but
it this?
Yes! Yes! Look at that tall man with glasses. It looks like a giant John Lennon.
I
Yeah.
hate it. His
It was
eyes are
such
so
a good
big.
movie.
is
I mean,
that such a scary scene, Brian? What happens?
Oh my God.
It looks
I
like
hate
Tony
it.
Hawk.
I got
The-
goosebumps and my nipples are so hard. I hate that.
That's actually that guy is not scary. That is actually Tony Hawk, and they're about to go skateboarding. The monster
Okay.
comes later. It Follows is a it's a parable about emerging sexuality, and the monster is
Gayness.
the monster is basically like your sexuality and the fears and
Really?
dangers that come with it, because the monster itself is actually a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, you have sex with someone, and then the monster will start chasing them.
What?
Yeah, and
Until
you-
they die, and then it goes back to you.
Fundamentalist
back, yes.
Christian scare
So
tactic.
you can
hell.
you fuck people to get the monster off chasing you, but
It's
then the
not
monster
telling
eventually
you-
gets them, and then it
Yes.
comes back to get you.
so it follows sex.
yeah. But that
It's
doesn't
not
make
telling
sense.
you never to have sex. It's telling you that like your loss of innocence. It's basically like a symbolism of your loss of innocence and entering this new world where you are now a sexual being.
Oh,
That-
man,
I think
that
it's more
didn't
like
happen
that.
To me.
You
Yeah.
didn't feel different after you lost your virginity. You weren't like the world's.
I was like,
changed.
I'm cool, but I was like
totally
20
felt
years
cooler.
old. So
I was 21, and I felt like I remember eating an omelet and being like, "This is like the first omelet as like an adult." It was like right after, and
I went to
we were
the
barely
dorms.
talking. We had nothing to talk about after we had sex because he was regretting it because he had a girlfriend. And I could just tell everything is shift. It was the first time that I felt. Talk about it follows. You know what follows sex? Men being weird. Men changing
follows.
so much. Men suddenly not being able to hold conversation. Men suddenly like not really wanting to talk to you anymore. Not really having anything to say. Suddenly regretting everything they just did. That was what it followed for me after that. I just remember being like, this guy isn't like cool to me anymore.
they ain't standing
Yeah.
in a doorway
wasn't
facing
mean.
you.
Yeah.
They're standing in a doorway, trying to get out.
But instead of running from it, I like ran towards it. That terrifying change. Okay, so it follows. I love that you love that movie. Is it? But it's so scary, right? Like I
Oh
don't
my
think I
God.
can handle something.
You know what?
Like, the
It's
idea of
not-
something creeping at me slowly.
Yeah, no, that's the
Walking instead of running. No, walking's so much scarier than running.
They're always
Yeah.
walking. They are.
well now well in like
Something
most classic
patiently.
movies, the monster like either can like space jump and all of a sudden it's right in front of you when it was just across the room,
No,
or
I
they
don't like that either.
do the
Or they're
stupid.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
spider.
slithering or
They do, like, this
scattering on
crab
a
walk.
wall.
like
Yeah.
yeah, crab.
Oh,
And then-
the other scene is the movie Hereditary. There was a screenshot of it, and she's in the corner of the wall,
No,
and you can barely see her because it's so dark.
I
You
don't
you have
like
to like really look, and you go, "Oh my god, what the fuck is up there?" It's so crazy.
I wanna see it.
Hereditary is the movie that like everyone says is the most scarring and insane. Have you seen that, Brian?
No, haven't seen Hereditary.
Okay, I've talked about it a
Sounds like
million
I
times
wouldn't
on
want to
here.
watch it.
No, it's traumatic.
You-
Okay.
I know it is the scariest thing I ever saw that made me like I slept with my sister that night, which
What?
never happened. Event Horizon.
Wait, why? What happens?
Oh, it's a ship that goes to hell, like a spaceship. You've never seen
No.
it? Oh my god, it's so scary. They like recover the like tapes from the spaceship. I remember the part that was the worst is they just the ship disappears and someone has to go find it. They find the ship, the crew's not on it, but there's like blood and stuff everywhere. And like, okay, what happened? One guy's like pulling his intestines out of his mouth, like, blah, blah, blah.
No,
People are like chopping each other up. But then when he's on the ship, like he's hallucinating. So the lights are going on and off, and then this woman is just facing him. That's his like wife that killed herself or whatever.
Oh, so when the lights go
just
off, the woman
so-
gets closer.
yeah,
as they
it's
go
just
on.
so many shots of like
Yes,
that kind of. Oh
Just
my god, I hate
creepy
it.
little things. Like even the Blair Witch at the very end, where the guy's it's just a shot of him facing the wall.
yeah.
There's nothing you see, but it's just that
Right.
like really like a thing that's challenging you to find it in the thing, and like there's a subreddit of like when you see it or whatever,
I
and
was
you
gonna
like
look
search
that up for
a thing.
days.
Some of those
trying
things
to-
are so
yeah.
stupid. Like I was watching, I think it was like Insidious 2 or something, and it was like this woman was in an attic or a basement, and it was pitch black. I don't know why she went down there, but she decided to go into the pitch black basement.
Laundry.
She was doing her laundry, and she had to. She couldn't see anything, but there was a chance there was a monster down there. And so at some point, she took out a match and she lit the
Yeah,
match.
right.
And then, of course, the monster is right there facing her. And I
Yes.
think that's just so stupid because that means that like the monster was just sitting there
Around
like waiting.
going,
I can't wait till she lights this match. When she's gonna be so scared when she sees how close I am.
And then
He was just
she's
trying to
walking and
prank her.
he's backing
Yeah.
up to be face to face with her, like stumbling over
Yeah.
like trash that's in the basement, like the lawnmower, silently.
If you want scary movies to be less scary, just start thinking about all the prep and setup that the monster had to do to make this moment happen.
The monster really works hard.
Yeah,
And
like
it's
to get under beds,
underappreciated.
they have to like clear out all the clutter
Yes.
first and like
They have
put
to
it
be-
somewhere
like,
else
hold
so it's
their
not
breath
obvious.
and be like, totally
Yeah.
still. They can't fart, burp, or anything.
No, like imagine the guy from
They
the
can't
Saw
crack their
movies. Like
knuckles.
he has to go to Home Depot. He's got to get a hook from somewhere. You guys have a hook, you know.
He's like,
That takes
into Home
quite a
Depot.
lot.
Just picture them eating lunch. Like the guy from Saw had to like stop building a contraption so he
eat a
could like
salad.
make a turkey sandwich.
He does a DoorDash.
Eat a salad.
My sandwich was supposed to be here 5 minutes ago.
Picture
That's how he
the
picks
Saw
his
guy
victims.
like just horny, but it's like I can't do anything about it right now. Like at the Walgreens. They have struggles too.
That takes away some of the fear.
Yeah.
I think the scariest movie that scarred me the most was in 8th grade when Mrs. Cannon
I know.
stupidly showed us The Day After Tomorrow.
I've never seen it, but I've heard you talk about it.
I've talked about it before, but it was like this apocalyptic movie about what if there was a nuclear war. And it was all set in Lawrence, Kansas, I guess, which I didn't even know I would end up going to college there. It was 8th grade, but we were reading this book called Z for Zachariah about the end of the world, like a nuclear apocalypse. And she was like, this would be appropriate to show them to tie into this book. And it was so just like the idea that this thing could hit and then we all are just like skeletons, like, hey, like it would flash. And then there's kids like playing baseball and they would just go, ring, and it would be like an x-ray of them. And they're like, ring. And that, for whatever reason, that was so scary to me, like just seeing people in their everyday lives become skeletons. And I couldn't sleep and I had so much fear. And it was probably the most scared I've ever been as a kid for an extended period. And then I always tell the story, but I remember so distinctly going down to my parents' bedroom to sleep on their floor for the probably 20th time that month. Like I slept on my parents' floor. I'd pull out this gymnastic mat from under the bed. The monster would be there. I'd say, excuse me, can I get this mat? And I would pull out the mat and I would unfold it and sadly make my bed. And I really remember that was like the first time in my life I was like, you got to get it together, Nikki. Like this isn't going to last. You have to quit this. Like it was I've quit so many things in my life and had that moment of like, this isn't working for you. This isn't manageable. You got to quit this. And that was I remember pulling out that mattress. It was so sad. It was like having a drink after you've been sober for a bit. Like I would like, be able to sleep in my room for a week. And then I'd go down, like, can I sleep with you? Unfold the mat, make the bed. And I went down the final time I ever went down. I opened the door and I said, I'm scared. And my dad goes, of what? And they're like asleep. And I go, nuclear war. And my dad just goes, what? And I go, I'm just scared. Like any second it could just like happen. There's no warning. There's no like sirens or anything. Like it just will like skeletons. And
And it's like, no, you won't even be skeletons.
He
Just your skin
calmed my
blows off.
fears so much, which was the simplest thing. He just said, Nikki, there is literally nothing you can do about it. And I was just like, and I remember thinking that he goes, what can you do? What are you going to do? Like, this is a guy that lived
Sleeping
through
with your parents is
the
gonna help.
60s, like Bay of Pigs, nuclear, like he had run this one through, I could tell.
Bay
of
of
like
Pigs, and that was just the dating scene. All right.
He had lived through this fear of like the world ending, and it's true, there's nothing you can do. And it really made me, I just remember shutting the door and being like, I can live now because I'm not responsible for this anymore. And it was so freeing, and I can't believe that's what did it. I would have never thought that was what did it, but
I don't know if that would have comforted me as a child because of the need for control. I don't know. I wonder if I was that age.
If your parents, the people who know everything to you, I guess at this point in 8th grade, they were starting to learn that they didn't know everything, but there's still the authority, and they tell you there's nothing you can do. It's like, it's my same joke about like, I like bondage because I like being tied up because someone's like, you can't do anything. It's like forced laziness. So like, if you can't do anything, you are free to not worry. It was like we were talking about the other day where I was like, I like knowing that nothing's my fault. I forget what we were saying, but there was some comfort I took from
The
knowing
adoption thing.
Yeah. Knowing maybe it was that, but it was something about not feeling responsible for, if I don't feel responsible, then I can just like let go of it and be like, it's not my problem. That's why I like that phrase, like, it's none of your business what other people think about you. That works on me when I'm reminded of it. because it just cuts right through it of like, okay, well now it's annoying if I care. Now
yeah.
I'm like being a little nosy bitch. Okay, great.
You'll never know anyway. So it's like, why are you trying?
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
definitely a healthier reaction,
way to
like
know.
when just letting go, like the book you're reading. You've just let
Yeah.
go of your responsibility. Whereas if that happened to me, I'd probably be like, I need to get in touch with Gorbachev. Maybe if he just listens to me, I
You
think
write
I
a
would
little
obsess.
letter.
But I
There
think my
must
dad even
be
ran that
something we can
through.
do.
He was like, "Are you going to write a letter? Like you don't even know where to
Brian
send it." Like I
writes
think
a
we
letter
kind
to
of went
Mikhail
through it.
Gorbachev every day. What do we do?
I had no idea. Even my therapist, I remember one time said, because I was struggling with imposter syndrome, and I know I've said this before, so I'm sorry to repeat myself, but she, I was like, I just feel like I'm fooling everyone. And she was like, how dare you think that? So you think you're smarter than everyone? So you literally think you are so smart that all these smart people, you tricked them. You're so good. And I was like, oh, as soon as she makes it that I think I'm hot shit, I don't feel that way anymore. It took it away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's something that soothing about that. Brian, you watched a stand-up special, you said?
Re-listened because I don't think if I'm not mistaken, I don't think there's video of this special. I think it's simply an album.
What? Dave
Yeah,
Attell?
well-
That Skanks for the Memories?
No, but close.
Mitch Hedberg? Boom,
Similar
boom, boom.
year.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to get it.
What was that
Um,
Mitch Hedberg one called? It's about corn. Year of Corn or something. God, what was that?
I don't. That's not
his
ringing
album.
a bell. But that was
Yeah.
definitely Louis C.K.
No. You're getting further away.
Okay, well, what was it?
Brian Reagan, Standing Up. His first
Oh.
album.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Brian-
That's not on vid?
I don't think so. I tried to look for it and it was just an album. And I have to say, if you haven't listened to that album in a while, listen to the first 12 minutes of that album. I don't think I've ever heard any recording of anyone crushing harder for that long sustained amount of time than the first 11 minutes of that album. It is absurd. The people in that audience are in hysterics. It's almost like they need to leave for their own health.
Oh my
They're
God.
laughing so much.
How do you
It's
listen
just
to
every
it?
single
Spotify,
line
probably?
is an uproarious laughter, and I'm laughing too. I'm listening to it, and usually if people are laughing too much, I'm like, okay, chill. Or this is like, I get why they're laughing this much. This is absurd. Just the rhythm and the amount of jokes and the way he does his like act outs are so funny, and he just piles on the tags.
What is the bit? Is it the U2 stuff?
Yeah, well, yeah.
U2? Is that
Yeah.
the bit?
And the
Yeah.
setups are so simple because the setups are just like, I'm stupid. And then
And it's like all the stuff about learning words.
yes.
Oh, it's so good.
What's
I agree with you. I don't think
plural
there's anything
for
better.
Geese for one goose. Geese. What's the plural for moose? Moosin.
Yes.
I fed the moosin in the trees and the woodsins in. And the meese want the food. And then he just switches it to meese. And it's
I remember seeing him at God, where was I? I was with Ryan Hamilton. We were at the Beacon. We got to go see him. And I remember nearly falling out of my chair, which has never happened to me at a comedy show. But I remember because he was talking with the word cabinet. Now we have to, I don't even know. I couldn't even repeat any of what he was saying about it. But just the idea that it's cabinet. Like we have to do that.
It's so
Why can't you just say cabinet? Like it's cabinet. Like why do we spell it that way? It was so funny. And then I remember almost falling. And which is rarely happened to me. I think it's only happened to me like when laughing with friends. I don't think a comedian has ever made me nearly fall out of my chair. But he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. That's
No
what I said to Allie.
Question.
I keep telling Allie, I keep like, she wasn't a huge stand-up fan before she met me. And I keep like showing her comedians and I go, oh, this person's like the greatest comedian of all time. And she says, Brian, you say that about every comedian.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, I say that about, there's like 30 of them. And I keep showing you those guys over and over again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, who are you? Who are you putting in your top 5 right now? Let's just do
My
it.
top 5 right now.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We can amend this.
Okay.
Just
I'll
off the
put
dome.
top 5 favorite or greatest of all time Mount Rushmore.
Greatest of all time, Mount Rushmore.
Oh, so then, greatest of all time Mount Rushmore is different than my favorite. I think it would probably be Pryor, Carlin, I think Louis C.K. is up there, Chappelle, and I don't know, Robin Williams, top
Okay.
5 of all time.
I'm gonna add Burr and Mulaney to that.
Oh, but who would you replace? The Mount Rushmore is only 4 faces.
No, I'm making it bigger.
You're going to expand? You're going to intrude further into the native lands?
I didn't know that Mount Rushmore meant just 4. I just meant it was like in stone. I just pictured these are the greatest men's faces to be in stone.
Joan Rivers.
I'm not well versed in Pryor, but I just trust that he's one of the best because Joan Rivers is up there. But like,
you got to give historical significance to some of them too. It's just like, I wouldn't put Lenny Bruce up there because I don't think I've ever heard a Lenny Bruce joke that made me actually laugh. But you have to respect the fact that he was the first one to start really like just talking like a normal person.
Okay.
Up there.
How did stand-up not become something before it? It's such a new art in terms of the history of art.
50s and 60s.
Yeah. And
crazy.
Okay. So after we get to the break, I want to talk about my mom and I went on a date last night, and I saw some of the most talented people in the world. And I want to talk about that right after this. So last night, my mom 2 days ago was like, wrote to me and my sister, do you guys want to go see Funny Girl at the Fox? Because it's at the Fox, this musical. And I instantly was like, hell yeah. And my mom was like, what? You want to go? No way. My mom like thinks I don't want to do anything. And she doesn't understand that she's like my friend and I like hanging out with her. She was so excited. So she bought tickets to Funny Girl. I'm guessing when she was drunk because she doesn't ever spend any money on anything. I think she maybe had an edible or something when she bought this. Like, my mom does not spend money. She does not treat herself, but she was like, I'm going to see Funny Girl the day after my birthday. And it's because it's her favorite movie of all time. And so we went last night and oh my God, the girl that played Fanny Bryce her name is Katrina McCrimmon. And I think she's the best singer I've ever heard live in my life. I mean, It was insane. I cannot believe this talent. I think she's the best singer. I wrote to her on Instagram and I felt bad saying the best singer I've ever heard live, but I can't confirm that I haven't heard better on audio, but I knew live this was like, it was just perfect. She was so good. And we were sitting kind of far away because my mom bought the tickets. And so I couldn't see how old she was the whole movie, but the Fanny Bryce is supposed to be
little
like,
dig.
Yeah. I was like, Mom, will you let me buy them next time? I want to be able to see faces. But she's 25 years old, this girl, and she fucking nails it.
God.
And we just can't even believe how good she is, my mom and I. And we're walking out and we're like, oh my God, like that's one of the most talented people I've ever seen in my life. Singing, dancing, acting, just funny, just able to belt and lower register, higher register. It was so impressive. And then we were leaving and I was like, I have to say, like, my mom goes, how is she just on this like little regional, like it's not little. I mean, the Fox is a big place, but how is this just not the Broadway? How is she not so famous? And I was like, because unfortunately there are a lot of people who can do that. And I know it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that can do it because it is an extraordinary talent, but there are a lot of singers in the world. And based on my just training and stuff, like I know there's a lot of people that can sing that good. I think she's exceptional even for how good she is, but it's true, like singing and dancing, and there's lots of people doing it. It's very competitive. There's not as many roles. Comedy, there's lots of people doing it. I really am glad I selected something that less people do. And
but also there's more of a like, if you can sing, you can sing. It's more like there's lots of different ways to be funny. I know there's lots of different ways to sing, but like there's lots of different levels of talent.
Yes.
I think
agree.
overall though, there's just too many people pursuing art. And, we grew up in a society
just stop everyone.
Where everyone has like pretty much the comforts of existence. They don't have to, do much. And then the boomers told all of the millennials that they could be whatever they want to be when they grow up. And so now we have just a glut of people who are pursuing their passions and their dreams. And it's like, I just want there to be about half.
But there are, because they eventually fall away because they're not going to ever make it. And they can't sustain doing these open mics forever and trying. And so they fall off either because they're unlucky because they weren't born talented, or they just don't work hard enough or whatever. Or they just have no luck and they're the most talented, which doesn't really happen that often. If you're talented enough, you'll find a way, I think. And if you work hard enough, but there was a guy in the show that was so good at tap dancing. And I was like, this guy has put more hours into tap dancing than I have in sleeping. Like, he is so good at tap dancing, but what a very weird skill to have.
So oldie timey.
It was so incredible to watch, but it was just like, what a funny thing to be great at.
That always baffles me when someone is so good at something that, like, there's maybe a grand total of 1,000 fans in the world.
And like 25 different steps. Like, tap dancing doesn't have like a lot of.
It does.
The feet have to be on the floor a lot, so you can't like, do many different.
There can't be a lot of jumping in the air and breaks. Yeah,
you have to constantly be doing this.
It was so
Be a
good.
good percussionist.
Yes,
I bet
you
he's
absolutely
really good
do.
at
You're
drums.
playing the drums with your feet. It totally is that, Noah. It was incredible. I mean, there's no question these people are infinitely more talented than I am in my field. I really truly believe that. Like, I don't have to be this good at what I do to make it, because there aren't as many of us. So it's like I'm great. I'm not gonna say that I'm not, and I work really hard. But if comedy were as popular as singing and dancing is, and people started when they're like 4 or 5, or I think this girl started when she was 8, it would be much more competitive, and you probably wouldn't know my name. Is all I'm saying. Like, and I had to explain that to my mom. I'm like, you should be so glad I didn't choose musical theater, because even if I was amazing, it would be so hard to break through, because there's so many people that are amazing, because there's places to go and learn early.
That is such
you
a
can't start
good
stand up
point.
till you're an adult.
No parent, like, parents are like encouraging their kids to become good singers, and there's very few parents who are encouraging their 8-year-olds to pursue stand-up comedy.
And if they wanted to be stand-up comics, and therefore your kid does not have the same. Your kid only is going to be a stand-up comic if you neglect them in a weird, in a very
Do you want
specific
them to like
way.
have low self-esteem and have depression?
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, if you start stand-up when you're 8 years old, you will never be funny.
No, and because
you'll never be funny.
You're doing stand-up because you like jokes. Like, it's rare that kids it's rare that you find stand-ups that are like, always knew I was going to be stand-up when I was a kid. It's not rare, but I'd say it's half of us, and I think the other half are just like, oh yeah, like I didn't think about it till it was like time to do it.
Kids don't even understand jokes until they're like between 6 or 8, because they don't understand symbolism yet. Like, there's no way for children to
And metaphor.
understand. Yeah, they think concretely, so they can't understand metaphor. So there's like no way to start early, and that's why you hear like kids saying jokes and parents are laughing, like kids say the darndest things or whatever, or like TV shows.
Yeah,
But
they're
you'll
never
see the
purposely
kids
funny.
just kind of being like this, and they have to be prompted, and you can tell they don't really understand it.
No, there's nothing funnier than a kid reading his dad's jokes at an open mic.
no.
That's all you get when there's kids doing comedy. It's the least interesting thing ever. There's no funny kids except Ava Ryan, whose mom filmed her. Katie Ryan on Instagram is the funniest child. Ava Ryan is her daughter, but Katie Ryan's the mom, and she's the funniest little girl ever. And she is trying to be funny, so there is an exception to it. And I
She
also
has
want
an
to
old
say,
soul, for sure.
she has an old soul. That's it.
There's no way around that for that girl.
I want to say, though, I said on a previous episode that autistic people aren't funny on purpose, and I want to take that back, because I've been watching more of Love on the Spectrum, and they absolutely do understand jokes, but they love puns.
Yes, they love the pun, darling.
Puns. Like, this girl in this episode was asked this guy if he wants a big kiss, and he kind of like gets like freaked out, and then she pulls out a Hershey's kiss. And they like love it, and it was so cute. So I want to say that I misspoke when I said that, and they might also understand irony and things like
They're
that. They're
funny without knowing it. That's true.
That's what I'm saying.
more.
They don't do it on purpose unless it's a pun, from what I've noticed, but I could be wrong. Final thought: the movie, the production Funny Girl. I had seen the movie before because it's my mom's favorite movie, but not because of that. My therapist, my abusive therapist, Dr. Abusive, recommended, which I want to say, by the way, I recommended Michelle Wolf go to my therapist, my abusive, and she went like twice and was like, no way. Like, she was so on. She like knew early on. She was like, I'm not seeing, you're still seeing her? Oh my God, I dropped her for within 2 sessions. So I was like, God, she's so good. Michelle knows what to do. Drop Froyo, drop Donna. But so my abusive therapist told me once during a session, she was like, have you ever seen Funny Girl? You would relate to that. You should watch that. And I was like, that's my mom's favorite movie. I should see it. So then I watched it because my therapist told me to. And then I forgot about what I learned, because that was over 10 years ago, or about 10 years ago. And then saw it last night. the whole premise of Funny Girl is that women who aren't beautiful have to be funny and they don't deserve love or fame or success, except this one Fanny Bryce. She's not beautiful. And the whole first song is like, you're not pretty as a girl in Atlantic City. You're disgusting and you will never have success. So just accept that your life is not going to be as good as if you were pretty, which is kind of the premise of my whole special. And which I kind of like that they were just calling this out. But then this girl is like, but I'm funny. So then she's like, but I'm really talented. So she's really talented. She's a really good dancer, really good singer, but she's not pretty. And she has a flat chest. And so they're like, you're never going to make it. But it turns out her talent gets her ahead. So then she gets noticed by this like really handsome guy who believes in her success, and he's just like dazzled by how talented she is. But he's like really handsome and seems to be very rich. And she's just like, oh my God, this guy likes me. He's so like, obviously I would never think he would even look twice at me. So then they both like each other because they both feel like they don't deserve each other. He's so enamored by how funny she is and how talented that he's like, I don't deserve her. And he's not that rich, it turns out. And she becomes very rich and famous. So he's just like, I don't deserve her. And she's like, I don't deserve him because he's so hot. And then I don't want to give away the ending.
That's all he's got? Come on.
What?
He's only hot, but she's famous, talented, funny.
Yeah. He also...
Oh, she thought he was rich. Okay.
She thought he was rich. And he's just like, he comes from like better stock than her. So he talks like this. And in the movie, he's like foreign and kind of mysterious. And he just like he just dresses better and he just carries himself better. And he was the first one to really believe in her. And so she also has that where she's trying to keep him around because she's like, you gave me everything. And everyone in her life is going like, what does this guy even give you? And she's like, you don't understand. Like I can't sing or dance without his belief in me. And I like that the ending isn't what you think it's going to be. But I was watching it like, oh my God, this is like, I love that this is kind of my life a little bit. Like I was talking on the girls chat about how I sent some video about these girls being interviewed about, do you want to be hotter than do you want to be the catch or do you want them to be the catch? Your partner.
Them to be the catch.
And most of the girls were like, I want to be the prize. I want him to be like so enamored with me. I want to be the one that's the prize in the relationship. And most of the girls in our girls chat agreed with those girls, except I guess you would rather them be the catch.
Yeah, so I could look at a hottie, and so because then I'll know that I must be good.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, you must be.
Because they like me.
Yes, like it's not just your hotness that got them.
Yeah,
I don't want my hotness of someone
to get
super
anyone, which
hot.
it won't.
No, but I do want that, but I also want people to go, whoa, she's with like such a hot person. He could get way hotter than her. She must be amazing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
What it
catfish
says about
them.
Yeah,
That happens
it's
to
about
me all the time. Every time I introduce Allie to someone, people are like, I like you better now because I met your wife.
Your wife is pretty
I think
fantastic.
that too when I meet guys that their wives are amazing, then I'm like, oh, okay, then there's like kind of no way this guy's going to be annoying if I don't know them.
Yes.
They're probably not going to mansplain to me today or anything.
Yes.
Because their wife is cool.
It's not even like I want the wife to be the man to be cool though. I just want him to be like physically I know this is so shallow. I just want people to go, how did she get him?
How'd she bag that
She
stag?
must be so funny and cool because I'm leaning into the thing that I do have as opposed to the thing that I feel that I don't have as much. Like I know I'm never going to be as hot as like the hottest girl, but like I can probably be as cool as the coolest girl. Like that's within reach for me, even though I also feel sometimes that that's out of reach. But I just thought I can't relate at all to a woman who wants to be the one who's the prize. But I feel most women do. Noah, can you speak to how you feel about this?
I think it's more about having like an insecurity that he could leave if he's hotter and he'll have more temptation out there.
Oh,
I think that's what it's about.
But he chose us because it's not that part isn't as important.
Nothing lasts forever, Taylor.
As our humor and coolness.
Right.
If you're the catch in a relationship, doesn't that mean that you settled?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Like, oh, I guess I could have done better if I'm the catch.
That's how I feel too. And I want we all know this. I want to constantly prove that, like, yeah, he could leave me, but he's going to stay with me. Like, he could do better. Everyone
it
knows
keeps you
it.
on your toes.
He could get anyone he wants, but he's choosing this. Like, that makes me feel so special, and I feel like I'm constantly
that's what
earning.
Pearl talks about. Like, you both choose to be in the relationship, and I think that's what makes people feel special to each other, because we both choose to be here. We're not being forced.
Yes,
it's not our last resort or anything. We're just choosing.
We're not getting on a plane making symbols to the flight attendant.
right.
Get me away from this hottie, please.
Okay,
Or ugly guy.
I feel like I figured it out.
Yeah.
But this play, I gotta say, musicals, I go in and I'm like, the most of it I spend just being like, man, I wish this was my life. Like, I should have done musical theater. This looks so fun. God, it would be so fun to dance and sing like that. And oh my God, I'll never be that good of a singer. God, what do I even try for? And I go through all these, like, making it about me and like,
you're thinking the whole time, like, dun, 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 dun.
yeah. And I barely can enjoy it. And then we get to intermission. I'm like, it's not over yet. Like, I have to now
That's how I
wait
feel.
a half hour.
Yeah.
And then the second half, I lose all of that insecurity, and I'm bored until the end. And I want it to be, and I wait for it to be
Bored
over. I was trying to be
Aren't you
comedic with that.
interested in the story?
No, not really. I don't have much of an attention span. Even though this was one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen, I was like, okay, I'm hungry. I want to go home.
That's how I feel at everything. Even shows, if I love them, then I'm counting, like, they've done 12 songs. They can't possibly do like 3 more. Like,
yeah,
I
that's
get to
so
go
true.
soon.
I only don't feel that way at Taylor Swift.
I want to give
really
a shout out to my sister-in-law's aunt. So my sister-in-law's aunt.
Let's hear it.
Hold on, let me do. Okay,
My brother's wife's aunt.
okay.
She's Victoria Clark, and she's the star of a Broadway musical called Kimberly Akimbo. It's currently in its 2nd year on Broadway, and it won the Tony Award for Best Musical, and she won the Tony Award for Best Performer in a Musical this past year.
Whoa.
And she's an incredible Tony Award winning musical performer.
Damn.
And you should go see Kimberly Akimbo because it got extended, even though it's a small musical in a smaller theater, which it's rare that a small musical in a smaller theater gets extended beyond its first run because of the money. This got extended to a second run, so you can go see it in New York on Broadway. Kimberly Akimbo.
I do want to see more musicals. I was kidding when I said I was bored, but that is how I feel about anything I even love. But musicals are amazing, and I will go see Kimberly Akimbo if I'm able to. And
It's
I want
really
to be
good.
in a
It's
musical.
actually
Being in a
funny.
musical is so fun.
Yeah.
It
You get
is
to get
funny. You've seen
dressed
it?
up and move
Oh,
around
and you get to
stuff.
dance with other people. Like, doing dances with people is so fun. Learning a dance, and then harmonizing, and just like, oh man, that was the day. Those were the days.
This
high
is a
school
whole other
plays.
discussion, and we have
gosh.
to wrap. But we should talk about just musicals and stuff in high school and drama, and if you did any of that.
Did you do that stuff, Brian?
I don't know. We're gonna have to wait
We'll
till
find
next
out
week.
in the
Oh
next
my God,
episode
I
of the Nikki
can't
Glaser
wait.
Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Tease.
Come see us this weekend in Atlanta and Kansas City. I'm so excited for those shows. Friday night in Atlanta, Saturday in Kansas City, and then then I'm at the Fox Theater where I saw Funny Girl on April 27th. So if you're in the St. Louis area, please come to that show. I want to sell it out. I cannot wait. Thank you for listening. Don't be good. And
Kimberly Jimbo.
yeah, that's good. I like that.